Hello, parents of the STEM Early College sophomore class. This is Miss King, who will be teaching your students in AP Environmental Science this year. And I teach a flipped classroom, which means students spend a lot of time at home introducing themselves to new material and then practicing and working on it with me in class. This is a little bit different than the typical classroom that you may have seen or experienced with your student. So I'm sending you this video to introduce you to how my classroom is run and to give you an idea of what your students do when they're in class with me every day. So just a brief introduction. My name is Ashley King. I originally grew up in the southwestern part of the Commonwealth of Virginia. I started out going to the University of Virginia and transferred to UNCG, where I graduated in 2009 with a degree in environmental studies. I spent a lot of my time looking at environmental biology, as well as studying the components of environmental law and environmental public policy. So your students will be talking about those things in class this year. This is my 5th year at STEM. Before I came here, I worked as a tutor and a supplemental instruction leader, which is basically a recitation leader for the biology department at UNCG. So my philosophy for learning is that students should be rewarded for mastering content. So they should be praised not just for trying. Effort is very, very important. And I do understand that students need to be praised for their effort. But students are also should be rewarded for mastering a skill or mastering a content and then being able to demonstrate that. Mastery alone is not enough. Students have to be able to demonstrate that mastery. I believe that student grades should reflect the work that the student has done. So the tests they take, the papers they write, the activities that they do. Only the students' work and their ability to demonstrate the mastery of those skills should really be what's reflected in their grade. And I also think that the learning process is just as important as the grade. In some things, I think it's more important than the grade because students need to learn how to study, how to take notes, how to think critically, how to be scientifically literate, how to be discerning when they consume information and consume media. And students need to be comfortable with being uncomfortable and being comfortable with not being able to do everything perfectly the first time. One of my favorite quotes is from Mythbusters: "Failure is always an option." There's nothing wrong with failing if you keep going. When you stop, that's when failure becomes a problem. So as I said, my class is a flipped classroom and we focus a lot on mastery and application. So what you'll see is students will be at home doing modules. Each module includes at least one video, which is typically 10 to 15 minutes long, produced by Mr. Anderson from Bozeman Science. So students will watch the video. There may be supplemental readings, there may be a textbook section that students will read and then take notes on. Students will then have a practice mastery quiz. They can take that quiz as many times as they want in order to get the passing score, which is 9 out of 10. When students come into class, we will work on applying those things that they have introduced themselves to. We will do case studies. We will do whole group discussions, Socratic seminars. We will look at news articles, journal articles. So students will be able to see the connection between what they've just learned and the real world. And then students will have to demonstrate that mastery. That will either be through an in-class quiz or some kind of assignment. And students who struggle with that, who don't necessarily meet passing, may come early and do some tutoring. We may work individually when students are breaking up in class to do things. So those students will receive that support and they will have another chance either immediately or later on in the course to demonstrate their mastery of those concepts. So this helps students in some ways work a little bit closer to their own pace. If they want to move faster and they demonstrate mastery faster, they can work a little bit ahead. We can have enrichment activities for them. Students who may need to work a little bit slower, who need a little bit more support, they have that option as well. So the mastery concept, one of the things that I do in my class is what is called additive grading. This is very different than your traditional grading system. Your traditional grading system is a subtractive system, which means that students start out with 100, and for everything they do wrong, they lose points. That can be a little disheartening. Students feel like they have to be perfect at everything, and it doesn't really focus on the learning process. It focuses on the end result. So what I do in my class is what is called additive grading. So students will start with 0 points at the start of the year, and they will earn points in order to get their desired grade. At the beginning of the year, students will see in their syllabus what those grades look like. How many points do you need to get an A? And they can work toward that. Your grades will be reported based on the current quarter, so how many points did they earn based on how many points were they offered, which is your typical how the grade would be calculated. And you will see what their progress is toward their final grade. So when you get a progress report from me, you'll see this is their quarter grade. They've earned 98% of the points that they have attempted this semester or this quarter. And then you'll also see where they are in relation to the final grade. So this is how many more points they need to earn to get an A. And you'll see that on every progress report that I send out. I also have this thing called the mastery demonstrations. I talked about that a little bit. So students will have a maximum number of points in certain categories. So quizzes, projects, classwork. They'll have a maximum number of points they can get. But students will have multiple opportunities to earn up to that maximum. So before, you may have a class that has 10 quizzes, and those are the only 10 quizzes, and if you miss one, you're done. In the mastery demonstration method, students can have 50 quizzes or 25 quizzes, and those will count until they reach that maximum number of allowable points. It's to help students show that they are earning their points by demonstrating their mastery. Tests and the final exam are the only things in here really that can only be done one time. So students should study for their tests and their final traditionally as they would, because they don't get another shot at a test. So quizzes and tests will be designed to mimic what the AP exam looks like, which is 100 multiple choice questions and 4 mandatory free response questions. So some of the quizzes will be short answer to mimic those free response questions. Some of them will be multiple choice style. Tests will be multiple choice with some short answer bonus questions. And mastery checks will be averaged together, so students will take a mastery check on Canvas after each module. So those will all be averaged together and put in as one quiz grade. So I have a few important policies that it's really important that you as parents and students understand. I do not accept late work at all. So if something is due at 9:30 on Monday and the student does not turn it in, that assignment is late, it is not accepted, it becomes a 0. In terms of no late work, technical difficulties are not an excuse for turning in something late. If it's due at 11:59 on Canvas and your internet goes out at 11:50, that's on you. So it's important for students to work with their time management and make sure they're getting everything done in a timely manner. Bonus or extra credit only comes from these 3 places. We use a program called Classcraft in our class. You'll be receiving more information about that on the first day your student is with me. Random interactive notebook checks, where students will take notes on their modules, and built-in bonus such as on papers, on quizzes and tests, so forth. I have a grade grace policy in which students will be able to drop their lowest quiz grade each quarter. I have a very specific academic integrity policy because that is something that is important to not only myself but also our school. So I will be explaining that one in a little bit more detail a little bit later. Electronics policy. Students are required when they come in to turn their phones off and place them in a numbered pouch. This is attendance. If a student has not put their phone in the pouch, they are either marked absent or they are marked tardy if it takes them a while to get that done. So it is very important that students do that as soon as they come in the room. The same thing with laptops, iPods, e-readers, all of those things need to be put away unless they have specific permission to use them. Communication policy. I welcome communication between myself, between parents, students. If you have any issues or concerns, I answer email from 8:30 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. So if you send me an email on Sunday, I'll get to it on Monday. And character is a very big thing with me as well as with the school, since we are a national school of character. So it's important for students to behave with integrity, responsibility, and respect in my classroom. So as far as communication goes for me, I will be checking email, as I said, between 8:45 and 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. You can get in touch with me at kinga3@gcsnc.com. You may also contact me on Remind, which is an app that allows students and parents to text with the teacher without sharing individual phone numbers. If you wish to join my Remind, you simply text the number 81010 with the message at KingApes18. Additionally, every Friday I will be sending out Friday updates. This will come in the form of an email, so please make sure that I have an updated email for you. And will either be just a written email kind of showing what we've done this week. It may be a video such as this one here. Sometimes you might see my face in the bottom of the screen. And it may also be a short 8 to 10 minute podcast that shares information that we've done in class that week. So I look forward to working with you for your student and for their success. One thing I would strongly suggest is once your student comes home, make sure that you read over my syllabus very carefully, especially the academic integrity policy content, because that is incredibly important, especially if your student has me for 2 classes this semester. Again, I look forward to talking with you and your student and working with you this year. And I'd like to leave you with a quote that I love. Unfortunately, we don't know who actually said it, but what they said was this: if you're not struggling, you're not learning. So it's important for students to understand that learning should be work. And if you're not working, you're probably not learning anything either. I hope you all have a wonderful and safe weekend, and I look forward to seeing students back on Monday.